SSPTV News, working with our partners at the Standard Speaker in the city of Hazleton. Kent Jackson is one of our good friends and reporters there. Kent, what a year 2020 has been.
We haven't seen the like of it in our lifetime, maybe our grandparents and great-grandparents, but for us, this was all new with the pandemic.
Yeah, we wanted to touch base because it has been quite a year for all professions, especially for us in the journalism field with reporting on things like the pandemic, COVID, and we wanted to touch base with you to just talk about some of the highlights of 2020.
Yeah, the pandemic dominated the news, and it affected everything from city government to our schools, to our businesses, large and small, in the local industrial parks, to our malls and our mom and pop stores.
Then what we know now in 2020, in March, we're thinking, oh, this will be temporary. We'll be off of work for 2 weeks. The state will close down, the country will close down, so to speak, and then we'll be back to normal. And that normal never came to fruition in 2020, where we're seeing mandated of masks, we're seeing social distancing, we're even seeing the shutdowns of stay indoors in Pennsylvania. So reporting through this, and as we get through the virtual learning, the virtual work from home, this is something that, again, is definitely historic in our day and age.
Right, we're still waiting to see the new normal, maybe sometime in 2021. But for reporters like me and you, it's been nice to be able to do video calls like this. It's safer and it's been convenient. A lot of phone calls, but there have been times where I've had to go out and cover a Black Lives rally and some other events where you take all the precautions you can, but you're still a little leery. And my colleagues, especially our photographer, Warren Ruda, has had to be in more of these events because you can't take a picture without being on the scene.
So talk about some of those most memorable stories that you've had to cover, whether it dealt with crime, whether it dealt with politics, whether it dealt with school or, city government. Tell us about some of the highlighted stories for 2020 and how it played a different role this year with how you were able to cover those stories.
With city government, starting out at the beginning of the pandemic, I think that when the city and Hazel Township and West Hazleton, the neighboring municipalities, put on a curfew, in a sense, it was just saying you had to be home after dark and you weren't supposed to have more than 4 people in a group. It wasn't something that helped so much because the police were arresting people for violating curfew, but it was the idea that telling people, hey, this is serious. We're doing what we can to let you know, just with the word curfew, that this isn't a normal situation. And I think that helped us get indoors a little bit and perhaps made people realize that it was necessary to take precautions for all our protection from then on. And our cases did go down following that, at least until the fall again when we had the second spike.
Going into 2021, especially in my experience with dealing with small businesses, dealing with parents, that you've seen the frustration increase from March till now, because first it was a temporary thing and now it feels like, when is this pandemic ever going to have a break, some relief? Hopefully with the vaccine coming out, we will be seeing some relief come spring and summer of 2021.
We sure hope so. And people have been showing frustration, but they've also been showing resiliency. Think of the parents who have become teachers while trying to do their own work from home. Think of our hospital workers, our doctors and nurses. They're still under tremendous pressure, long hours. They may be sick themselves and not have as many people who can fill in if one of them does get COVID-19 and they have to quarantine. And it's been a challenge that they've risen to. For small businesses, some have gone to takeout, and we've tried to help out local restaurants by getting food that way. But there are some things like the movie theaters and performances, even social clubs, that haven't been able to do what they usually do. And we're hoping that when the pandemic lifts, they can return and still have the wherewithal to reopen.
Today's news feature is brought to you by Workforce Resources Inc. of Hazleton, in business since 2013, located in West Hazleton. If you're looking for a job, call them at 570-454-8810 and find out how you can apply for specific jobs, including skilled positions and warehousing. Full-time and part-time opportunities are available.